Why students stim and how we can support them. As a school counselor, I often find myself watching kids, not just with my eyes, but with my heart. I see their hands twitching under their desks, their feet bouncing endlessly, their pencils tapping rhythms only they understand. Some hum quietly, others rock slightly in their seats. Many are pulling and fidgeting with their clothing, and these small behaviors, often overlooked, misunderstood, or corrected, are the window into their internal world. These behaviors are known as stimming, short for self-stimulatory behavior, and they are far more significant than most people realize. Stimming provides visual and auditory cues about what's happening internally. As a society, we've spent so much time trying to correct and change stimming behaviors that until recently, very little attention was given to why people might stim. I often find myself reminding teachers and parents that whenever possible, stimming should be supported. It's often the most accessible and effective regulation tool a person has. However, because stimming behaviors are often seen as unusual, many people try to suppress or change them. Very little space or understanding is given to people who stim, which only deepens feelings of shame and brokenness. Yet for many, stimming is a natural state. Before diving into how stimming affects children, it's important to first understand just what stimming is. Stimming refers to repetitive movements, sounds, or behaviors that help individuals regulate their nervous system. Although commonly associated with autism and ADHD, stimming is something all humans do. Think of tapping your fingers when you're anxious or bouncing your leg when you're trying to focus. For neurodivergent children, though, stimming is not a quirk or a habit. It's often essential for their emotional and sensory regulation, focus, and even survival in overstimulating environments. In classrooms, stimming can present in many ways: rocking, tapping, chewing on clothing, spinning hair, making noises, or excessive fidgeting. These behaviors are sometimes labeled as distracting or inappropriate, but they're coping strategies, not disruptions. Taking away or discouraging stimming is a form of masking. It is often the first mask we wear. As parents and/or educators, we ask the neurodivergent children to wear these masks. We ask them by correcting or asking them to stop stimming when we find it annoying, distracting, or disruptive. We are asking them to change something innate about themselves. Our suggestions or alternatives, even when offered with love, can imply that the need to stim is wrong or we are broken within us. This belief is reinforced when we're praised for suppressing a stim or sitting still, teaching us that there is something wrong with our natural state. Why do students stim? My main objective when teaching about stimming in the classroom or workplace is to remind people that the presence of a stim or stimming is the body's way of saying, I need to regulate. This is true for humans when experiencing big, difficult emotions. We hold tension, keep our bodies and minds busy. We fidget, we feel restless, unable to calm down or relax. Add a neurodivergence, and this becomes an everyday, sometimes every hour, event. In autistic students, stimming may help with managing sensory overload or expressing joy. I'm in awe at how both extreme emotions on either side of the spectrum can stimulate the same stims. The neurodivergent brain and nervous system feels emotions at such intense levels that it needs movement to process them. As a person with autism, I experience this quite frequently. When I'm excited or happy, my joy bubbles up and over into my body, and I cannot contain it. I get silly and I laugh, and I try to get anyone around me to join in because the feeling is so good. The same thing happens when I'm angry or sad. It can feel like the whole world is crashing around me. I feel physical pain with my emotions, and the only thing that helps me is to rock my body, release the tears, feel the feels. People who are close to me often describe me as wearing my heart on my sleeve or an open book, as it is not difficult to observe my mood, my state of being, or my state of mind. My energy is quite transparent, and unless I'm masking, you will know how I'm feeling. In students with ADHD, it can be a response to boredom or understimulation, or a way to help focus. And this is a tough one, as this type of stimming often involves poor choices or unacceptable behaviors, and these stims are often disciplined or have a consequence. ADHD is not an excuse for bad behavior ever. However, it is sometimes the reason. Regardless of how many times I say this, teach this, people will still complain to me when my neurodivergent students misbehave. Many ADHD children fidget at school. I often hear from parents and sometimes the kids themselves that they only fidget at school or church or anywhere they're expected to behave a certain way. And this does not surprise me at all, as most of these venues require a person to sit still, listen, learn, and then do, all of which are challenging our executive functioning, which we're already challenged, and provide few opportunities for a dopamine hit. Our brains are wired to find stimulation in whatever form we can. And the easiest one is to just move our bodies or to do something that will make us laugh, or maybe others providing a much needed dopamine rush for all. Unfortunately, this happens at inappropriate times and can often be annoying, frustrating, and even angry for some people. Depending on your school community and the backgrounds of the students you work with, it is important to note that stimming is not only observed in the neurodivergent students. Children who have experienced severe trauma, abuse, war, bullying, death of parent, and illness, who might have PTSD or complex PTSD. Stimming may be a grounding tool used to stay present or to self-soothe during stress or emotional flashbacks. It is one of our natural ways that our body and minds protect us and help us regulate when we are triggered. But there's another layer to all of this: dopamine. People underestimate the power of dopamine and the devastating effects it can have on a person's life when your body and brain simply do not produce it or enough of it. The dopamine drive. Many neurodivergent brains are constantly searching for one thing: dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with reward, motivation, and pleasure. Students with ADHD and autism often have lower baseline dopamine levels, which is why they seek high-interest tasks or repetitive stimulating behaviors. Stimming is often their way of self-supplying that dopamine. It's not defiance or disruption, it's self-preservation. When we suppress or punish stimming without teaching alternatives, we may drive children to seek dopamine in less healthy ways: risk-taking, disruptive outbursts, screen overuse, or emotional dysregulation. And that's why part of our role as educators and caregivers is to guide them towards healthy sources of stimulation. Dancing, music, art, physical movement, deep focused activities, nature, laughter. All these can provide that dopamine hit, but in more structured and socially acceptable ways. I created a program that I've used in my school counseling office for years. I'm currently working on getting it from my brain to paper, so that it can be a workbook and a mini course for parents, teachers, and coaches and counselors to use. But here's a brief outline of it. Detective Dopamine, a program by Mrs.C. As part of my school counseling program, Mrs.C and me, I created Detective Dopamine, a fun and engaging activity designed to help students explore the powerful role dopamine plays in their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Students take on the role of dopamine detectives to investigate, identify healthy and unhealthy sources of dopamine in their daily lives. Through interactive discussions, real-life scenarios, and visual aids, students learn how dopamine, often called the brain's feel-good chemical, can influence habits, motivations, and even mental health. We explore examples of healthy dopamine boosts, such as playing sports, exercising, creating art, playing music, dancing, spending time with friends, achieving goals like finishing a project, helping others, practicing gratitude. And we also discuss unhealthy dopamine triggers, including excessive screen time, social media scrolling, junk food, sugar, procrastination paired with last-minute stress relief, substance abuse whenever it's age appropriate. Students are empowered to make intentional choices about their behaviors and to build awareness of how dopamine can support or sabotage their well-being. Detective Dopamine helps create a strong foundation for emotional regulation, resilience, and balanced mental health. Teach conscious masking, not shame. Masking is when a child hides their natural behaviors like stimming to fit in. All of us mask from time to time. We modulate our tone in meetings, smile when we're sad, sit still even when we want to fidget. But for neurodivergent children, masking can become constant, exhausting, and harmful. Over time, chronic masking has been linked to burnout, anxiety, and identity loss, particularly in autistic individuals. That said, conscious masking, when a child chooses to adapt behavior in specific settings, is different from forced suppression. It's not about shame, it's about agency. Just like we teach children how to raise their hand, to speak, or to line up quietly, we can also teach them when and how they might choose to manage or redirect stimming in social environments. For example, it's okay to rock back and forth. Let's just make sure you don't bump into the person next to you. You can use your fidget quietly under your desk so you can still focus on the lesson. If you feel like you need to move a lot, you can ask to take a break in the hallway. This isn't about making kids normal. It's about teaching emotional intelligence, situational awareness, and self-advocacy. What we can and should do as educators? If we truly want inclusive classrooms, we must shift our thinking. Instead of asking, how do I get this child to stop stimming, we need to ask, what is this child trying to regulate? And this is how we can start to normalize stimming. Talk about what it is with your class. Use age-appropriate books or videos to explain that some people move or sound differently because it helps them focus or feel calm. Create safe spaces. Allow for calm corners, sensory bins, wobbly stools, or quiet zones, not just for cool down, but as preventative support. Offer movement as part of the day. Brain breaks, dance sessions, stretching routines. Make them regular, not reactive. Teach healthy dopamine strategies. Help students identify what makes them feel happy, focused, or calm, and encourage them to use these tools daily. Model acceptance. Let students see you using calming tools, expressing big feelings, and respecting others' differences. Stimming isn't a sign of brokenness. It's a sign that a child is trying to stay regulated, trying to learn, trying to be okay in a world that doesn't feel safe or predictable. If we can understand that, we can help every student feel seen, supported, and accepted. We can teach children that their brains are not wrong or broken. They're just wired uniquely. And perhaps most importantly, we can help them move through the world with a little more freedom and joy and movement, and to move exactly as they are.